Hello. Gonna make sure everything is working. I'm a couple minutes early. Hey, there you are. Hi. Hey guys. I hope you can hear me. I should be getting a text from the wife that I can indeed be heard. It is working. Yes, it is. Yeah. You can hear me. It's not too loud. It's not too quiet. I mean, I do have the mic a little closer than it probably should be. I am doing well. I'm doing incredibly well, actually. Hey! Oh, wow. More people in here right off the bat than I thought there would be. How is everybody? Oh, I recognize so many screen names right now. I'm letting people trickle on in. That's a good question. Is that couch as comfy as it looks? Yes, it is. And it like reclines and everything. It's very comfy. You can fall asleep in that couch. I do not have wine tonight, actually. I just have water, but I have Eddie. I brought Eddie since this is my first live stream. And so Eddie has been with me since the very, very, very beginning. I know. No wine. Well, hopefully this live stream isn't as intense as an episode of The Untamed. That would be a cause for wine. Yeah, see, Eddie has to be there. Like, it really can't. Now, I love me some John. We all love John in this house. Oh, that's a good question, Yasmin. I'm going to write that down for later. We have a bunch of questions from people that have been sent in from a couple of different places, but I am absolutely going to open up the floor for general questions once we get through the stuff that people were nice enough to send in. John is nice, but Eddie is essential. You're from the Star Trek side of things, aren't you? Oh, someone noticed the octopus. Yeah. The octopus in the back. Yes. Her name is Harmony. She's one of those. If you're on Tumblr, you've probably seen this come across your dash at least once. Those are the little flip octopuses. Like, she's all smiley and happy on one side, and then you flip her over, and she's got a grumpy face. Yes, her name is Harmony. Her flip side, her grumpy face, is named Discord. I'm so organized. I'm so organized. Oh, my wife is laughing really hard right now. Ooh, we're going to get to video games. Do not let me get off this live stream without mentioning my plans for video games. Oh, Rast. You started watching Star Trek because of me. If I could do anything on this earth. Yeah, I'm imagining those octopi are everywhere on K-pop videos. That does not surprise me. I got her on sale too. I highly recommend. Are there a bunch of Australians? A lot of people I mean, that what time is it in Australia? Since we have a lot of Australians, what time is it over there right now? Finland. Mexico. Oh, Finland was Petra. Hi, Petra. Yeah, I know you. Mexico, Canada. Seoul, South Korea. Brazil, France, Hungary. Damn. Oh, yeah, dramatical murder is in the future. Absolutely. Scotland, Colombia. What the? I had no idea. I apparently have not checked my. I've been a bad YouTuber. I haven't checked my YouTube analytics lately because I thought that the majority of y'all were in America. New Jersey. Everything's legal in New Jersey. Trinidad. Wisconsin. Germany. Another Germany. Yeah, I think people are talking about dramatical murder more because it's finally getting an official English version that comes out this year at some point. That I'm very excited about because ever since they did the anime dirty, I have been waiting. Turkey! Ooh, I'm writing down that that question, Eternal Rhapsody. You know, Akira, I'm not usually an all roots kind of girl. I usually just like get my OTP and stick with it. Although that's kind of a lie. There are times where there are multiple routes that I explore just for the hell of it. And considering it's dramatical murder, you know, I probably would do them all just for the sake of. I really love that world. If the anime did anything right, it really got me in love with that world. I haven't watched it in so long because I only watched it once, and then I was like, they degate it, and then I didn't. And then I haven't watched it since. So it's been a long time, but I know what the guy looks like. Um, he wears red. He's pretty badass looking. He's got black hair. And I was like, oh, those are my guys. And then nothing happened because they took all the gay out of dramatical murder. I have water right now. It's nice and boring today. I have watched Banana Fish. I have a lot to say about Banana Fish that could probably go in an entirely separate video. I also need to do a little bit more research on Banana Fish in terms of like the choices that were made before I really comment, but I could get a whole video out of Banana Fish actually. Okay, so it's been a few minutes. We've let some people come in. We've got a nice little groove going. So well, first of all, let me welcome you guys here to the first live stream I've ever freaking hosted. I am so happy that, you know, that I'm not just talking to my wife. I'm happy that more than my wife showed up. And she's laughing again right now, I can tell. Oh, I just heard her. She is watching right now, by the way. She is in the chat. If you see anyone named Forever Anonymous go by, that's her. I refer to her as the wife. So here's how this Q&A is going to go. I had patrons send in questions and they get answered first. We're going to start with patrons. And then I made a community post last week asking for any more questions. And we're going to go through those. And then after that, it's going to be a free-for-all, not unlike the first 10 minutes of this stream where you can ask whatever and I'll answer. And then once we're all bored, we're going to go home. I mean, what can I tell you? Oh my God, all the hellos to the wife. It's what she deserves. I sent to none because I'm a procrastinator. Me. Oh my God, so many highs for the wife. Okay. So we're going to get going. Oh, wait. Before I forget, I do have a small but rather exciting announcement. Thanks to many months of patron support, and this was pretty much almost exclusively financed through patron support, I have got a brand new, very sexy camera that I have yet to play with and figure out and use. But this is like number one on my job description for the month. I'm going to figure out the kind of new setup that has to come with it. It is very nice. It is very sexy. It is much better than the potato webcam that I have now. So that is number one on my to-do list. It will either be put into effect this month or next month. I still have a couple of things that I need to get for it, like, memory cards are nice. But after those come in and I can get it all figured out and I can get it all set up, this will be a gigantic improvement over the video quality. You guys have been so nice staying with me through the potato days, as I will call them. Isn't it sexy though? It's pretty sexy. It's pretty nice. It is by far the nicest camera I've ever had. What could be the name for the camera? Okay. You know me too well. Because I am, in fact, considering names for the camera. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm working on naming the camera. The Potato Day sounds like a TV show. That sounds like a sitcom from like 1992. Petra, do you have this? It's part of the Canon Rebel series. It's a Canon Rebel T7. It should be more than enough for what I need. Hi from PR. Puerto Rico? Hey, Puerto Rico. You call your phone Wei Ying? I'm not mad. I feel like Wang Ji would do the same thing. Alrighty. Let's get started with some tier 2 patrons questions. The first one is actually a really good one to start out with. Comes from Leonardo, and she asked, what inspired you to create Gaywatch? And rather than ramble on for 15 minutes about a whole bunch of tangentially related things, I will try to actually stick to the subject. I'm ADD, that's difficult. But the inspiration for Gaywatch was actually it was to create something that I hadn't really seen or I didn't really have. Like, I look at the people who have YouTube channels or any artist, any creator, it's like they all start their own little individual parties, right? Like, if you subscribe to Markiplier, if you're into video games, or if you subscribe to Jacksepticeye, everybody throws their own specific party. And you get different things from all these different parties. And I always wanted to start one of my own. And that's what I went into, trying to figure out which YouTube channel would be best to actually start and stick with now that I'm capable of doing that. And Gaywatch kind of naturally sprung up from that. I pretty much already had this channel in Tumblr form. I started a Tumblr a long time ago with the exact same name, and it was about posting reviews and evaluating queer content, be it canon or otherwise, on a blog. And then I was like, let's take that blog and let's bring it to life in all of its queer glory. And now we're here. And I always wanted to do reactions as well, because I don't know if you noticed, but I'm a rather enthusiastic person. And so I felt that lent itself to reactions, and I always love that kind of review format anyway. You almost don't need to ask the person what they thought of a show if you watch them react to it, because you were there every single second. And I love shit like that. But yes, I think this is such a specific party that I'm throwing. That is its nice little own protected space for not just queer people, but shippers and people who love fandom and who are really, really nerdy about not just their shows, but their ships as well. Because even today, shippers get kind of a bad rap for several reasons that I could make a whole video about. But I've been around in fandom long enough to know that all of the very loud, bad reasons why shippers get a negative reputation aren't what we actually are. And even today we get some backlash. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to create a place where we don't have to worry about any of that bullshit, where you can be as detail oriented and as nerdy and as character driven about your ships as you want. And if anything, you'll just be like me. Second question. We're still in patrons. We'll be in patrons for a little bit. Second question is from Jen. She asked how the wedding and how the honeymoon went, and if the state of the world hindered our plans, or were we able to kind of hash out something great anyway. And we were able to hash out something great anyway. Our wedding was very, very small, obviously, for extremely apparent reasons, but it was really wonderful. It passed in a blur, as it usually does. I sobbed, as everybody expected, and then we went and we fucked off in the cabin, to a cabin for like a week, for 5 days, and we were just up in the mountains with an incredible view and like a hot tub and a nice little cozy cabin for 5 days. It was great. It all went great. It was wonderful, and it's also really funny to talk about this since I know my wife is in the room. You guys are so fucking nice. That's one thing. Can I just say, tangent real quick? You guys are so fucking nice. It's like my first real experience with content creation and fandom was over in Star Trek: The Original Series. And that fandom are full of a whole bunch of nerdy little geniuses who are absolutely incredible people and so nice. And I was like, I am never going to find another fandom that is this nice. And then the Untamed happened. And y'all bitches are nice. But you are some of the sweetest, most encouraging people. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I cannot pronounce this. The next question comes from a patron who I'm just going to kind of roll with it and trying to pronounce their URL. It looks like Icosa Hedonist. I know it ends with hedonist, which I approve of. That's my best guess at that pronunciation. But they asked, any ideas for what to watch after The Untamed, and what are your favorite characters so far? What I watch after The Untamed is actually more or less up to you guys. I plan on doing it via polling. So I'm going to ask general YouTube people first, and then the final vote goes to patrons. The big vote will be to narrow it down to 3 options, and then the patrons will choose from the final 3. But I do come up with the list myself. I will have a list of options, and they will all be things that I would love to react to, that I'm kind of equally excited for, but I leave the choice as to what comes next up to you guys. Favorite Untamed characters. This is going to make me cry. Well, obviously, I mean, I know there are plenty of people who, like, in all their fandoms, they always like the side characters and they kind of ignore lead characters. That's like a trend in some parts of fandom. I am the exact opposite. I'm usually a whore for the main characters. And so Wuxian and Wang Ji are obviously at the top. Wuxian probably just ekes it out over Wang Ji. And if you know me, that's no surprise. I'm a Kirk fangirl. So, you know, that's fairly predictable. But aside from the top 2 guys, Yan Li's going to go up there. Obviously. That's why That's why I'm trying to stay somewhat spoiler free. Yanli Chan. Obviously, my two sons. I can never pronounce the other guy's name, but he's the leader of his clan now. He's the guy from the Ni clan. I've referred to him as my son since the beginning. And then, of course, there's Yao, who's part of my other OTP going on with my husband, who would be another favorite character, Shi Chen. I'm in love with him. It's fine. Ching, of course. Ching, of course. Of course. And I think those would be the top. Yeah. See, you're spelling it right. My son from the Ni clan, whose name I can't pronounce. You're spelling it right in the chat. You got it. Ooh, see, now I'm afraid to try to pronounce it on live stream, because then that will live forever in infamy. Yes, Shi Chen is my husband, and I love him. And my husband has, a boyfriend, and that's fine. All the characters are fascinating and interesting. Yeah, that's another thing, is that everyone has their own shit going on, and all of it is really complex. So I feel like who your favorite character in The Untamed is really more of like a personality test for you, because everybody's well drawn and everybody has their own pros, cons, emotional baggage. That's one of the things I love about this show as well. I mean, you can't not love Ning. You have to love Ning. I don't make the rules. You have to love Ning. We all love Ning. We all wish the best for Ning. And if I keep going, I'm just going to get into spoiler territory. But no, Ning is the best boy. Of course he is. Just, of course. MVP as well. Let's see. I'm going to keep going with patrons. This next question comes from Nure. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I'm pretty sure I did. And they asked, since you said no question is too personal, you spoke openly about mental health issues you have. How do you deal with people who don't accept those? As in, like, that's just an excuse for laziness. Just tell yourself it's not that bad, etc. And there's also a second question that they have that I'll get to in a second. After I address this first one, how do I deal with people who don't accept mental illness as a valid reason for your behavior and your limitations? I don't. I stopped dealing with them. And that was actually a big part of my development, was realizing that it's not about them and their acceptance, and it's not about them legitimizing my experience. It's about me legitimizing my experience. And once you get into that mindset, you will have much less time for the people who refuse to see you and your specific capabilities and your specific experience for what it is. They also asked if I wouldn't happen to have any advice on how to get a mental illnesses or a sign of weakness authority figure to check out if maybe all of the symptoms of depression that they're showing might mean something. That can be tricky. I would hit them with science and facts and brain chemistry, and just reinforcing the idea. Look up people, and not just like celebrities. Look up famous people in history who have suffered from depression or anxiety or some form of mental illness. And in terms of trying to get someone to check out their own depression, a good starting point, I feel, is asking them if they want to feel better. Like, once they're ready to start feeling better, then they can start looking for solutions. Other than that, that's a really specific question. So in terms of blanket statements, that's where I would start with somebody like that. And that is, of course, you said they were an authority figure, so this is somebody who's obviously in their life and you can't like kick them out. But in general, with not dealing with people who just don't acknowledge mental illness as a valid thing, don't just limit your time with them, because if they're looking at you and they're seeing a weak person, you don't need to be around that. You are absolutely worth more than that. You don't need to deal with that shit. You need to find people who accept you for exactly who you are and what you can and cannot do, and who believe you when you tell them about your experience. Ah, Yasmin, I stand for the time is short, spend yours with people and things which matters to you and which makes you happy. Yasmin dropping knowledge. She dropping truth up in here. No lies, only facts. Damn right. Damn right. And don't waste your energy. God, yeah, just don't. Just stop. You're wasting energy on the wrong people. Let's see. Anna asked one of the questions I get the most, which was she was wondering if I would consider reacting to the adaptations of the other novels that are by the chick who wrote The Untamed. There are the other two adaptations called Heaven's Official Blessing and something about Scum that I can never entirely remember. And yes, I will absolutely. I am in love with this author. This author has me hook, line, and sinker. I will definitely be seeking out everything she's ever touched. In terms of reactions, I'll probably be waiting a while, waiting till more like the end of the year before I introduce any reactions that are too similar to The Untamed, because I would like to get a nice, good variety going of all the different types of shows and movies and eventually visual novels and video games going before we kind of go back to the geniusness that is whoever the hell wrote The Untamed. I forget her name all the time. Did she have a second question in here? Or did I make her? No. I made that up. I thought she had a second question. She didn't. I also get a lot of questions, about whether or not I'm going to read the book, an English translation of The Untamed. And yes, I will definitely try to do that. I'm pretty sure that there's a couple of translations that are, if not official, really, really good. And if the translation is good, then yeah, absolutely, sure. I could probably do not a live blog because I wouldn't be live, but I could probably do some kind of read along something with a book. Why are we talking about Hannibal all of a sudden? Oh, things to react to later. In the meantime, Hannibal is on the list. After The Untamed ends, Hannibal is on the list for things that you'll be voting on. Oh yeah, Hannibal's there. It would be a rewatch for me, but I haven't watched it since it went off the air, which is like at least 5 years now. So I have not seen it in a hot second. I don't remember anything except for like a couple of the big things, but I remember. Yeah, no. So Hannibal is definitely on that list. Oh yeah. The next question from Goldman asks, do you think shows that come from different cultures tend to portray queerness in different ways? And my answer is absolutely, because they're different cultures. That's one of the things that has me so interested in watching queer media from various countries, because they're all coming at it in different ways. And oh boy, can you tell. So, but this actually gave me a really great idea for a video that I could do in the future that compares and contrasts how queerness is represented across the globe, hopefully. That would take a lot of research, but oh no, queer research. That would be terrible. But yeah, so that gave me a video idea. Thank you. Going back to Hannibal for a second, hasn't there been a possible season 4 coming, like, since they went off the air? Hasn't that just been like, I feel like Hannibal is like the Firefly fandom way back in the day. Like, they're like, we're gonna get that season 2 for Firefly, and I'm like, they're gonna get that season 4 for Hannibal. The next question comes from a URL that says Missy-Chuck. So Missy Chuck, and I'm wondering if this person is both a fan of Doctor Who and Supernatural. That's a theory I have about this patron. I would love to get an answer, Missy Chuck. I was wondering if you were thinking of doing a post-series discussion kind of video for The Untamed. Just give away all my surprises, Missy Chuck, because yeah, I absolutely do plan on doing one big final review, thoughts and feelings roundup, all that kind of thing. I do plan on doing that video for The Untamed when I finish. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That may actually be something I do for every series that I finish. I feel like that would be a nice way to wrap things up and to give like final thoughts, or as final as it can be. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's happening. That's a thing that's happening. Definitely. Oh, Imani, that's you. You're Missy Chuck? Doctor Who. I love Missy. Missy's my favorite master. Fight me. I say this, I haven't gotten into 13's master yet, but still. Misha, the Untamed character songs are worth reacting to. I will be reacting to the official soundtrack. Definitely. Just like I'll be reacting to behind the scenes stuff for the Untamed and kind of whatever you throw at me for the Untamed. There's going to be a lot of Untamed videos even after the series is done. So even though it's going to be a little while before like the Heaven's Official Blessing or stuff like that gets reacted to, there's going to be plenty of Untamed stuff. Don't you worry. I got plans. Let me find the next question. Oh, this is a big one. From and also might possibly be one of my favorite URLs so far. A question from Cryptid Radish. A plus URL. They ask, I was just wondering if there are any books or series you've really enjoyed and would recommend. Again, my wife is laughing right now. That's a big ass question. I would have to make like, how much time you got? I would have to like compile an entire list. That in and of itself could be an entire video. That's a big question. I can, however, somewhat more specifically answer their second question, which was, what was your show or book or movie as a kid? Like that thing that almost defined your childhood. And the thing is that I was left alone a lot when I was a kid. I was kind of a lonely kid. And I filled that void with shows and books and movies and storytelling as a whole. It's probably a foundational reason as to why I'm a writer. And so I have quite a few of these. This would also be a pretty good list. But off the top of my head, the things that really defined the media that really defined me as a kid, in terms of movies, Nightmare Before Christmas. I am one of those bitches. You can put Nightmare Before Christmas on anything, and I will buy it. That's it. If yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas, kind of obviously. That's a big hallmark of my personality. Labyrinth, definitely. Muppet Treasure Island, yes. Clue from 1985, since we're talking about Tim Curry with Muppet Treasure Island. And with books, there was a series that was actually probably the reason why I got into anime. There was this book series for kids, for middle grade readers, and it was called Broken Sky. And I think there were about 7, 8, 9 books or whatever. And boy, I devoured that shit. And the art for it on the cover wasn't an anime style. And that was one of the main reasons why I got into anime. It was a fantasy magic thing for kids. I have never heard anybody mention Broken Sky. I believe that's what it's called. I'll double check that, get back to you. It's been a second. And then my favorite author as a kid or as an early teen was Christopher Pike. He wrote a lot of YA horror, fantasy, crime type things. Rude Motorcyclist. And he was the first author that I really gleaned onto. And so if you were that kind of kid growing up, he also has adult novels for adults, and they're really amazing as well. But again, I could make a whole ass list of things that affected me as a kid because I was extremely dependent on media when I was a kid. I think that does it for patrons. So now we're going to move on to questions on the community post. And I think some of you actually asked several questions in one go. So we've got plenty to go on. Admiral Pike wrote books. No, I know, right? The first time I heard Pike's name, I was like, wait a second. He basically wrote my adolescence. Do I watch Thai BL series? I have, because of the post I made to the community a long time ago now, several months ago, asking for BL series Rex. And you guys recommended like 42 things. And I've watched like 34 of them. And that's actually a big, massive review roundup video that is coming in a couple of weeks. So that's the long answer to that question. Da, 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 da. Have you seen Black Sails? Black Sails, also on the list of things to watch after Untamed that you guys will be voting on. Black Sails is on the list. Oh, yeah. I've seen season 1, but from what I understand, it doesn't get really good and really gay until seasons 2 and onwards. So, yeah, Black Sails is on the list. Ooh, Maven. First of all, hi, Maven. I know you. I love you. I know your name at the drop of a hat. That made no sense. Have you heard of the movie Supernova with Stanley Tucci and Colin Firth? Absolutely, I have. I'm actually really excited for that one, even though it's going to be a whole lot of pain. Like they're really feeding us by finally giving us what we deserve, which is Stanley Tucci and Colin Firth married. But I don't think it's on many people's radar. So A+ to you, Maven. I don't think that's really... I haven't heard it get talked about all that much. I haven't seen the list, but I'm just going to assume that Guardian is on it. Okay, so Guardian made it up into the top 10 most requested things when I asked you guys for BL Series Rex. And of those top series, when I looked at them and what they were about and all that jazz, I should be watching Guardian when I watch the rest of them and do the second part of the BL series reviews and all that jazz in a couple of months. But I'm actually holding on to Guardian Guardian will be on the list for reactions later on in the year. Absolutely. I'm stupid excited about that one. After this one, because I just saw this comment, I'm gonna answer this, and then we're gonna get back to the questions. Do you plan on watching all the shows on your YouTube banner? Plot twist. The reason they're on my YouTube banner is because I have seen them and love them dearly. So yes. And coming from, Jamie. On the YouTube community post asking for questions, we start off with Jamie, who asked a couple of different things. The first one, do you have any shows or movies that you're especially excited to react to in the future? I am extremely looking forward to The Witcher whenever the hell we get season 2 of that, because of so many reasons. I kind of can't believe that show even exists, because it's like they went into my brain and they just grabbed everything queer and fantasy and Henry Cavill related and made a show out of it. And I'm hashtag blessed for that show. Season 2 of The Witcher, obviously season 2 of Euphoria, because that show really means a lot to me. The Old Guard finally got greenlit for a sequel, so we'll probably get that next year in 2022. But obviously very excited for the Old Guard sequel, because, like, hello, we didn't get the spin-off that we were hoping for, because, like, we were hoping for, obviously, Gay Immortal Action Husbands spin-off that's just about them, which I wouldn't even be able to put into words how much that would knock me the fuck over. But we are getting a sequel, and the love, the hype, the perfection, the everything. Oh yeah. Let me see. I'm also excited to another show that's on the list. That's immediately on the list after I finish The Untamed is Merlin, because I have not watched Merlin in literally 8 years. I haven't watched it since it went off the thing, and oh boy, would I love to relive that series again, because I can't remember any of it because it's been 8 years. But oh boy, was I into that show. Rest. I keep thinking about Teen Wolf and how much I love it and hate to love it. I don't even need to add anything. That exactly sums up Teen Wolf. Merlin, yes. Merlin was one of my foundational things that I think there's actually a question about that in the future. Yeah, I have neglected Merlin for a very long time now. And so, of course, that's going to be on the list until it gets rewatched, definitely. The next question was about Heaven's Official Blessing, which we already talked about. And then, speaking of that foundational question, this is you. Okay. Real quick, because I know you're here, because I've seen your URL fly by. I've gotten to your question, but I don't know how to pronounce your URL, because it looks like it should be Hichan or Hickchan, but I feel like it's not Hickchan. If you're still kicking around in the chat at this point, I would love a primer on how to pronounce your URL. But you asked, when was the first time you watched something and thought, wait, this seems kind of gay? And, which show, movie, cartoon was it? And oddly enough, it's with a soft double C. Head empty. Give me another hint. What does that mean? My wife is laughing at me from across the house. I would love to know what soft double C meant. I can pronounce so many things. I'm so good at pronunciation. And yet, you heard her? You can hear the wife laughing from across the room? The house? Oh my God. Oh, something like Hishan? Ish? Yes? Hishan? I'm stuck on it because it looks like I should know, especially with all the anime that I've seen in my life. I should know this. Ah, okay, it is Hishan. Okay. No? No, from the woman herself. Chair. Oh, Hichan. So I was right earlier. Hichan. Yeah, see, that was another thing. Fina had another good idea. Hichan. But Hichan. Yes. Yes. Gotcha. All right. Putting that saga behind us. The first thing that I saw that was like, this seems kind of gay. Funny story. So in 2009, I was still extremely heteronormative minded. I was very, very locked in. I didn't have the whole, queer shipping thing was on my radar, sort of, because I was in fandom. But even though I had figured out my sexuality several years prior, I was still stuck in a very heteronormative state of mind. So it's not like I saw anything happening anywhere and went, that would be interesting if it was gay. That was not me. I was still stuck in a very rigid mindset. So when I sat down to watch the 2009 Star Trek reboot, and throughout that movie, I was just kind of like off in the back of my head. It was a really weird, just little novel thought that I had back there that was like, this whole Kirk and Spock thing. I don't know. It seems a little homoerotic. It seems a little gay. It seems a little queer. And me, again, having barely heard of any queer parts of fandom to begin with, I went home in all of my naivety and I was like, I wonder if anybody, agrees with me. I wonder if I'm the only one seeing this. Am I the only one picking up on this whole Kirk Spock thing? Like maybe if I, go on a little Google search, see if anybody by chance has gotten the same idea. Yeah, and so that's how I found out about, OG Kirk and Spock. They kind of invented the term slash. It's been a thing for like 50 years, and then I laughed at myself for about 10 minutes. Yeah, that was the first time. That was the first time I was like, seems kind of gay. And then you go home and you realize that you're like 50 years late to the party. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then oddly enough, that led me to just the original series in general. And that was a whole ass time that resulted in like almost 300,000 words of meta, I believe, that I've written just for TOS Kirk and Spock. Yeah, there's a reason I started with Star Trek on this channel. It's because they are the OG. They were the very, very beginning of my poor little heteronormative mind was just blown. Misha, yes, that was exactly me. Yeah, you're sitting there watching the movie, you're like, I don't know, this whole Spurk thing seems kind of sus. That was me. It's like, I wonder. Yeah. The next question coming from, I don't know, this is a very, I want to ask this person if they're like okay, because their URL is someone you forgot. And I just like, can I send flowers to this person? You good? All right. They asked, after Untamed, will you watch its spin-off movies? I can't remember if I mentioned the spin-off movies before, but the spin-off movies, wait, yeah, that's in the question of the Untamed. I don't currently have plans to make reactions out of them, because I believe one of them is about my son, you know, the son from the E clan whose name I can't pronounce. And I think I forget who the other one's about, but I don't think so. I hear they're kind of less gay. I hear it's more of a world buildy thing. So I don't know how great reactions they would make. So probably not. But then again, if you guys just like hound me about it, then sure. Why not? You guys are obviously in a position to know better than me. Oh, right. The other one, the other spinoff is about Ning, but it's bad, really. Oh, I'm hearing that the one with my son is really worth it. Maybe I will. Ooh, it's scarier? Oh, sign me up. Yeah, and that was Fatal Journey. So yeah, maybe I will. That I should I'll probably add that to the list of all the many things that'll be Untamed related that I make videos of after the main series is done. Yeah. That seems to be the consensus that I'm seeing in chat, is that Fatal Journey about the clan, etc., is great, and then the other one, not so much. Cool. Let's see. This next question comes from the URL I'm so tired help, which if that ain't the fucking mood. They asked, are there any shows that you've watched that you feel are underrated or deserve more recognition? And once again, you're all spoiling things, spoiling all my surprises. I have a video planned for underrated ships that I'm gonna do. I already have a short list going of just some really great gayness that has just flown under the radar of fandom, in my opinion. So I have answers to this question, but they will come in the form of their actual own video. So that will be answered later, when hopefully you're not so tired. See, you say Black Sails is the most underrated, but when it comes to people giving me suggestions about things to react to after the Untamed, that's one of the ones that I've gotten the most, if not the most, aside from Heaven's Official Blessing and all that jazz. I've gotten Black Sails a lot. The next question comes from Kaylin, and she asks, "Do I have a list of things that I plan to watch and react to, and how do I decide what to watch next?" I already told you guys about all the pollings, and I'm always adding things to the list, and a whole bunch of different factors are at play when I'm putting together a list that you guys are going to actually vote on, because they do have to have enough attention on them, and or be somewhat recent, or I just have to make kind of rather, annoying, very YouTuber decisions and what goes onto the list. But first and foremost, anything on a list that you guys vote on is something that I am 1000% down to watch. And so in that sense, it's a win-win for me. And then, speaking of names I can't pronounce, this one comes from a URL. Gonna try to pronounce the second name. Zoliange? Is it a French thing? We don't know. Zoliange. You know who I'm talking about, especially if you have that URL. They ask, do I watch anime? And if so, what are my favorites? I have been watching anime since I was a wee teenager. So yes, definitely. My to watch list on my analyst account, my to watch list for anime is like 300 deep. I am so behind on anime, but on the other hand, I have watched a lot. My favorites that are non-gay, because I actually have plans for a big gay queer anime roundup review thing in the future. Once again, you're spoiling all my surprises. But favorite non-gay ones, the one that you just sob literally through the entire thing. I believe the English title is Your Lie in April. The wife has seen most of that one too, actually. And she watches anime very rarely. But Your Lie in April is stunning. It's gorgeous. You'll cry through the entire fucking thing, but it is so worth it. It's one of the most beautiful stories I've ever seen. That would be, if I was going to do a reaction to that series, I would absolutely have wine for that. Jesus Christ. What's another non-gay anime that I love? It was that one mystery anime. Let me see if I can look it up without like breaking my webcam. There was that one mystery anime that came out recently that was so fucking good. Like my face was like plastered up against the screen as I was watching it because it was so good. And now I can't remember. There was a shorthand title for it. And of course I can't remember what that one is. But I'm, of course, like everybody else, I'm a Attack on Titan fan, even though I've only seen the first season. I am behind on Attack on Titan. Food Wars, the anime, that was an unexpectedly good one. I'm only a little bit behind on that one. I'm literally going into my analyst right now because I have Bokudake. I'm a big Danganronpa fan. And an underrated anime film that came out a few years ago was called Patama Inverted. Mind-blowing. And it's so easy to ask you to watch because it's only a movie. It's only going to take you a couple hours. If you hate it, whatever. It's just a couple hours. It's not a full series. Mind-blowing. Just peak anime geniusness. Patama Inverted. I know. That mystery one that I was talking about. Right, the English title was Erased. Not literally erased. That was the English title. But the Japanese title starts with Bokudake. And oh boy, that was a popular one for a fucking reason. I really need to rewatch it, actually. It's been a second. But okay, we could be here all day with anime. You guessed it, Hee-chan. Yeah. Erased is so good. It's so good. Same person asked a couple of different questions. And their second question was, what's your favorite music genre? And who are your favorite artists? I have a lot of favorite music genres. I'm kind of all over the map, especially in terms of like mainstream and indie stuff. I am very firmly rooted in like both camps. But so off the top of my head, favorite music artists, not paying attention to anything except literally off the top of my head. Amanda Palmer, her stuff isn't for everybody, but if it's for you, it's for you. Taylor Swift, I feel like we all have that one super mainstream artist who everybody loves, and that includes you. And boy, for me, that's Taylor Swift. I'm a very big Taylor fan. We could be here all day talking about that alone. Marianas Trench is one of my favorite bands. If you like Panic at the Disco, you will love Marianas Trench. Delta Ray is an incredible band. If you're like dying for like soulful country Americana vibes, but you don't want to listen to music that's made by racists, Delta Ray, liberal country vibes. Yes. And again, this is like anime. We could be here all day, but off the top of my head, those are the biggest ones. Churches, if you love synth pop, Churches is one of the best. You don't get better synth pop than Churches, man. You just don't. Another one of, I just bumped into the mic. Another one of this person's questions was, can you play an instrument? And if not, what instruments would you like to learn to play? I cannot play an instrument. I have tried. I think the closest I got was the guitar, if not possibly the ukulele. But as of now, cannot play an instrument. I would love, however, like one day, like if all of my dreams come true, right? I would definitely learn how to play the cello. The cello is one of my favorite instruments. I don't have the brain for learning piano. I've already tried that. My hands can't do two different things at the same time. I cannot play the piano as much as I would love to be able to. But the cello, I could actually see myself learning how to play and sticking with it. That is definitely on my list. Oh, Janie, you're a Marianas Trench fan. I saw them on their Phantoms tour. They came here of all places. Oh yeah, and I got to see Marianas Trench. Wow, I haven't heard Apocalyptica in so long. I was big into Apocalyptica in my teens when they were really covering a bunch of Metallica stuff. Ooh, that's a blast from the blast. Liliana, you play the cello? I have so much music envy right now. You play the cello. God tier. Oh my god. Lynn's trying to call me out, saying your hands do two different things while playing the cello. That is technically untrue. Not simultaneously. With the piano, your hands are literally doing two different things simultaneously. With the cello and with playing the guitar and playing the ukulele, technically, this comes down to milliseconds, but technically, one hand is still while the other hand is in motion. And it comes down to, I get what you're saying. It comes down to just the barest technicality. But there is a difference, at least in my brain. Maven, have I seen? Yeah, the Resident Evil Village 9-foot vampire lady that took over the internet last week. I have heard about her. I've even seen Markiplier's interest in her, let us say. And I tell you, I love it when certain characters or certain things in popular media really reveal the kinky motherfuckers that we have in the universe. Because boy, you wouldn't have thought that there would be that many people losing their minds over this fabulous, curvy 9-foot vampire lady in a horror series. But boy, there apparently are, and you never know. I'm drinking out of the wrong thing. Oh, is she older? Vampire lady. I did not know that. And then the last question from the same person was, what are your least favorite tropes and why? In the continued tradition of just spoiling all my surprises, I do have a video planned that talks about favorite and least favorite tropes. And that's actually something that I'm going to get your guys' input on so that I can do one of those ranking videos. And we can get into the nitty gritty about, which tropes I love, which tropes you love, I hate, you hate. We can have a nice, great debate about it. That is definitely something coming up in the future. And then the next one from Fina Grandia. Is Grandia an old school RPG reference? If I'm remembering correctly? Because bonus points if it is. But from Fina, she said, I think you've said before that you're a Doctor Who fan. Who is your favorite companion? I am in the middle of getting caught up on Doctor Who, and so I've just done a rewatch, so this is extremely relevant. But yes, I'm a Doctor Who fan. I'm a big Doctor Who fan. Didn't we mention Doctor Who, I believe, before we got started with the questions? But favorite companion, now, I used to not be able to choose. I used to have no earthly idea. Currently, I'm in a dead tie between two. I'm in a dead tie between Donna and Clara. Claire's a real divisive choice, I realize. She's not the most popular, but I could write essays about her and about why I feel differently from the majority of fandom. But I don't think there's not a companion that I actively dislike. I think the one that I'm the most neutral on is Rose, who's like the most popular one. So I apparently have a lot of unpopular opinions when it comes to Doctor Who, apparently. But favorite companion, I have never been able to choose just one. So it's a miracle that I've gotten it down to a two-way tie between Donna and Clara. See, Donna's amazing. Donna is straight up amazing. Donna is my girl. That's the wife's favorite companion is Donna, and always has been Donna from the second she met Donna, boy. I love Martha. Martha was right up there with my faves, and like she still is, because who doesn't love Martha, especially at this point? I get why she wasn't entirely well received at the time she happened for various reasons, but I'm actually really happy now that Martha is getting the respect that she goddamn deserves, because she was amazing. All of them, they're really good about companions on Doctor Who. They're really good about choosing companions. Listen, if we start talking about Wilf, I'm gonna get emotional. Does he technically qualify as a companion? I mean, he does. He does. Because if he qualifies, then Jack Harkness qualifies. Though I feel like those would be more like supporting companions. I think rather than main companions, there's a whole other conversation to be had about the one-off companions or the very, very temporary ones. That's like a whole other debate. Kelsey, you don't know how you feel about the new companions, though? 13's companions? Me neither. I'm still in the middle of getting caught up on 13. And I tell you, I've gotten to pretty much really like two of them, but there's a third one who is a bit wooden for me, and I'm not. Yeah. Have you watched Torchwood? Have you watched Torchwood? Have you watched Torchwood? I haven't watched Torchwood in a very long time. That is actually that's on my schedule for the wife and I to rewatch together at some point this year. But yeah, I adore Torchwood. I adore Torchwood just as much as Doctor Who. And it takes a little extra special place in my heart because it's so fucking queer. I love Torchwood. It's a shame that they only had 3 seasons and they never had a 4th one. Because, coming off of season 3, which was critically acclaimed, you would think there would be a season 4, but there wasn't. This next person's URL is literally just phone account. Oh, of course. It's just your YouTube account that you have on your phone. Duh. On the tin, right there. They asked, what are your thoughts and opinions of the Star Trek reboot? And thoughts on McCoy, Kirk, and Spock as a poly relationship. I could write an essay about the Star Trek reboots. Basically, they're a mixed bag, but I have a bit more of a fondness and optimism about the reboot movies, about the 3 reboot movies, than I think a lot of people do. I know I enjoyed Into Darkness more than a lot of people did. But I also haven't watched those in a second, and I will actually be kind of reacting to them after I finish the original series. I will be revisiting the reboots and kind of reevaluating how they stack up. Thoughts on the McCoy, Kirk, and Spock OT3? I'm a very monogamous shipper, pretty much. I get my opinion and I get my OTP, and I don't like venturing outside of that with the characters involved. But do I support OT3s? Absolutely. I am okay with basically any ship just on principle of shipping, and you can ship whatever you want. In terms of OT3s, though, you'd think I'd have more, considering I love the idea of them. But and in terms of poly relationships and OT3s, there's a somewhat little known, underrated show that would actually probably make it onto my list of underrated queer things, but I'll say it anyway. It's called You, Me, Her, and it had 5 seasons on some very small channel that no one's ever heard of, but it was great. It was a contemporary sort of just romantic comedy, but it was a poly relationship. Fantastic show. It's done now. It had 5 seasons. I haven't seen the last season, but it was, oh no, I haven't seen the last 2 seasons, but it's incredible. It's incredible representation. It is really funny, but it's also very emotional. It's just, You, Me, Her is a great show for you OT3 people. Holy shit, that is your show. Threeson. Which, okay, you're talking about an OT3, and I'm pretty sure it's Untamed related. Threeson, which 3 were those? I forget. I've seen it mentioned before, but I can't remember who the 3 were. Yeah, I don't know if she knows what Threeson is. I'm fairly certain it's Untamed related, yes? Here we go. Oh, it's Yao and Shi-Chen with, that guy. Oh, that guy. Yeah. But see, again, I'm really monogamous with my shipping. So because I ship Yao and Shi-Chen so much, I'm like, no, just them, nobody else. And I wouldn't read other like pairings that involved either one of them either, because I'm like, no, I have my opinion, damn it. And that is Yao and Shi-Chen. So on principle, yes, of course. More, I think OT3s in general are kind of underrated in fandom. We need more OT3s. That guy. I would imagine there's some very interesting fan fiction with the three of anyone. I love it. We're just talking about OT3s now. Where is, there we are. The next one comes from an interesting URL in that it's literally just 2 A's and an R. So I don't know if it's supposed to be like AAR or just R. That's a good question. Adventures in URLs. But they asked, oh yeah, they asked about if I'm going to watch any other BL dramas after The Untamed. And the answer is yes, of course. But again, not until later on in the year. Part of that is because of the variety thing that I talked about before and wanting to get some different types of things going on in the channel. But also, I want that few months before I go from Untamed to other BL dramas on the channel, because I just need time to be a fangirl about The Untamed. I'm going to need to watch it all over again. I'm going to need to watch all the stuff that I have planned for the channel in terms of, more reaction videos to behind the scenes and soundtrack and all that jazz. And, reading the book and just doing, videos on analysis of scenes. I just need a few months to just go and be a fangirl and wholly experience that which is Untamed, because it's so, ban about Untamed. And then we will move on to other BL series that I'm really excited about. There are a couple that, they're right up my alley, right up so many of my alleys. A question from Marshy540. Oh, I like their icon. It looks like they hand drew it themselves. Good on you. I can't draw stick figures. They asked, what other shows do I have in mind to review? They kind of wish that I would do some anime/cartoons because there are some really good ones. There are a couple of different animes and a couple of cartoons that are on the current list that you guys will be voting on in a couple of months when The Untamed ends. So animated stuff is on the list, definitely. What other shows do I have in mind overall? I already mentioned Black Sails is on the list, Hannibal, Merlin, Sense8 was another one that was one that I meant to watch when it aired, and boy, I just totally didn't. And I've been regretting that ever since. So Sense8 is on the list. A lot of genre stuff. I am big into my genre queerness. What's the anime? I have The Owl House is on the list, that Disney cartoon that I've been hearing a lot about. The Owl House is on there. And then, it was that one anime that I started and then I don't know why I stopped because I was having such a good time. And it's really big now for a couple of different, gay reasons. It's the Boku no Academia. I can't remember if there's Hero anywhere in that title, but y'all know what I'm talking about. That's an extremely popular anime, and I believe that's on either this next list or it might be on the list for a shorter series. It's definitely in there. I think it's Boku no Hero Academia. Yeah? Yeah. I think that's right. Yeah, or I could just make it easy on myself and call it My Hero Academia. Yes, I could. I think you're in chat, or you're still in chat. You're right there. The URL, that's literally just a blank space. I would die if that was a Taylor Swift reference, but it's probably not. Your question. You asked a couple of different things. You asked, what do you think your plans are for your channel's watch schedule after you finish The Untamed? Which is actually a very good question. I don't plan on changing it, really. I used to have the idea that I would be watching something a bit newer at the same time that I'm watching something a bit older, but I've had to change that, and now it's going to be watching something a bit longer at the same time watching something a bit shorter. So the longer series I will be watching twice a week so that I can get through them faster, so that they're not hanging around for quite so long. And then shorter series will just be once a week, because even then I'd be done with them in a couple, 3 months to begin with. But in terms of the 3 videos a week, 2 for one show, 1 for another, that's not going to change. Oh my God, Badger Pride 89, you're in here? Hi. Oh, Badger and I go way back. Hey, you've been around since forever. Hi. Oh, I know you. This is nuts. When really, really old school people come around. Hey, Badger. Priya, I know your name as well. I know your name too. What was one of the other questions that Blank, I'm just going to call you Blank, asked? They asked, why did you choose to watch and react to The Untamed instead of any other show in the first place? It was part strategy, part genuine interest. I had known that The Untamed was suddenly popping up on my dash on Tumblr all the time, and I was like, this is really gorgeous. What the hell is happening? Are you telling me that like there's some historical gayness happening? It was just GIFs popping up on my dash, and I had no idea what was going on. I just knew it was pretty. And it started happening so much, and I noticed that The Untamed was becoming, a thing. And I looked on YouTube and I saw that there are other reaction series of The Untamed on YouTube, obviously, but it wasn't one of those things that was like so heavily saturated. And I was like, I'm just going to get lost in the noise. It was something that I felt like I might have the chance of carving out my own little space in. And I had also heard, because there is some overlap between Kirk and Spock people and the Untamed people. And so I've been hearing it from them as well. And I was like, I've seen enough, Asian media to kind of get a handle on whether or not I'm going to like this. I feel like I'm going to like it. So I'll just give it a shot, see how it goes. If I don't like it, and if nobody watches, then I'll just stop. And here we are. So far, what's been your favorite episode, arc, or just scene, moment in The Untamed? That's a big ass question. Considering I filmed episode 38 yesterday, and I film episode 39 tomorrow. Favorite episode, I feel like is going to be a big question that I could go back and deep dive on. But as of right now, off the top of my head, I believe it was episode 20. The title that I gave that one was just, I believe, Transcendence, because a lot of transcendent things happen in that episode. And boy, I tell you, I have had so much fun watching this series. But that one in particular was so satisfying so satisfying that I think even after I've finished the series and seen it again and really thought about everything, I feel like that's probably not going to drop out of my top 5. That's just too, it was too good. It was too satisfying from like beginning to end. If I go into it anymore, we're going to get into spoiler territory, but y'all know. Favorite just scene or moment. That's right, entertainment. As of right now, I think in the first 2 episodes, it was the second episode because I titled that one The Wrist Grab That Changed My Life. And I'm not kidding. I still have memories. It's been months now. I still have memories of that wrist grab. And it really did change my life. But more recently, we had that amazing scene with Wushan coming up on Wang Ji while he was bathing. It's the second time in the series that's happened. But this time, y'all, that bathing scene was like some pinnacle of yeah. That scene's gonna live in my brain rent-free for a real long time. And the last question from blank was, what do you do besides YouTube? As in jobs, hobbies, that kind of thing. And the answer is, in terms of jobs, I am technically unemployed. For various mental health reasons, I haven't been able to hold down your standard job for many years now. And I am extremely fortunate in that the wife is in a position to let me do that. So I haven't had to shove a job into a brain that is not totally capable of having a job shoved into their brain, especially not one that I would have to get. But in terms of, hobbies, other things, I consider my job to be like my real job. I'm a writer first and foremost. I have been writing technically and showing signs that, I think she's a writer since like 3rd grade, but I didn't realize it as a career ambition until I had just gotten out of college. And I went to college and I spent my high school time thinking that I wanted to be an actor. And then I realized that, no, I wanted to be an actor for the wrong reasons. And I was like, I should probably pay attention to this whole writing thing that I've been doing since the dawn of time. And that's when I started to take it seriously. So I've been taking writing seriously as a craft for a little bit over a decade. And I have completed 2 projects, which is a miracle considering I haven't really gotten my head on right in terms of productivity until just this past year and a half. But I did finish 2 projects, and no, they weren't both gay. One was gay. The other one was a head trip. And, but I am currently working on a new book that this is the first book that I'm sitting down to write with the intention of traditional publishing. In that I'm like, I want this to get actually published, because before that I thought I wanted to be self-published, but no, I am not cut out for self-publishing. I am very much a traditionally published kind of girl. And so I'm very excited to sit down, and I'm still developing the book. I plan to have a first draft of the book by the end of the year, no matter what I have to do. And it is gay. It is extremely gay. It's a queer medieval fantasy about about a prince and his bodyguard. And that goes exactly where you think it goes. And I'm unbelievably excited to finally not just get it out, but get it out with the intention of being traditionally published. And that I mean, in terms of other things that I occupy my time with, besides just nerdy fandom shit, I have YouTube and then I have writing. And of course, there's, spending time with my wife. There's also that. Those are the three big areas of my life. Or was that four? I've lost count. I got a life at some point. I didn't have a life for the longest time, and then somehow I now have a life. It's real weird, but that's growth for you. I believe I know you. I think you may have a couple of different URLs, but this next question comes from Thy Music 2, if I'm pronouncing the THY part of that correctly. And they asked, what kinds of queerness and queer relationships in media are your favorite and or would you like to see more of? I basically just answered this question. Queer fantasy, like queer medieval fantasy. I mean, genre queerness in general, because I mean, crime, horror, sci-fi, all different types of fantasy from historical to contemporary. Just genres. Give me genre queerness. That's why I really seek it out so much in fandom and reactions in this channel. Genre queerness, please. I love a good contemporary story as much as the next person, but you want to talk about in terms of queer media, I have personally, obviously, your mileage may vary, I have had it up to here with contemporary stories with canon queer people. That is almost all we ever get. We're only just now starting to branch out into real genre stuff. And I'm like, yes, that is where I want it to go. That is entirely why my book is queer fantasy. Books are getting a bit better about that than I feel like mainstream media and TV and shows are. There's some great queer fantasy and queer sci-fi going on in books. Both adult and YA, and I think they're a little bit ahead of the curve when it comes to shows and series or books. But we're just now starting to get there, and God, it's been a long time coming. So yes, genre queers. Oh, another name I'll have a hard time pronouncing off the top of my head. I believe that name is Onda. Onda, possibly? Onda A. And she asked if I've ever seen that series that's called Versailles. It's just called Versailles. And because the king's brother, one of the main characters, is gay. And no, but this show just came on my radar because I was actually looking up something about historical queer people and came across someone who is currently a character in Versailles, if that makes sense, if I connected those dots correctly. So I've just heard about this, and I could potentially be extremely on board. Do we know about Versailles? Do we know about this? Daniela, I see your mention of the captive prince, and oh boy, are we going to get to that in a second. Because I love it. Do we know Versailles? The show Versailles, has anybody seen that yet? I only just found out about it. I think it's pretty new. But historical queerness, my weak spot. Oh, Daniela, we'll be getting to Captive Prince. I see you. No, yeah, I think it's... Yeah. And see, I love that kid, and now his name has gone right out of my head. The kid who played Mordred in Merlin, who was amazing. He's all grown up now. He's in Versailles. Well, damn. I think it's pretty new, so this explains why a lot of us haven't seen it yet. Maybe it'll be one of those things I skim through to get to the good gay parts. I know that some parts of fandom really balk at that, oh, you're just skimming through things for shipping purposes. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Every now and then I do that. There's no shame in doing that. You don't have to be wholly invested in every single show you watch. Like, you don't. You can do whatever you want. Asa Butterfield, thank you. How did I forget that name? We don't know. I'm usually really good with actor names. But so, no, I haven't seen Versailles yet. And yes, it's on my radar now. And I will probably wind up skimming through it. And that's okay. If I find anything really good, obviously, I'm going to come screaming to y'all about it. Dynasty Girl had a question that I've basically already answered. He-chan, I pronounced that right? You also asked, when did you realize you were queer and what made you realize it? This is a really short story, actually, because when I was 15, Tattoo was big. And if you're not old enough to remember Tattoo, let me tell you, Tattoo was a singing duo of a couple of Russian girls. And they were not actually together as it came out, but their whole shtick was that they were a couple of Russian teenage girls who were in a relationship and were singing about it, right? And when I was 15, I had found a couple of their music videos, literally two music videos. We're talking about a maximum of like 8 minutes of content. And after I had been sitting there and watching a couple of teenage Russian lesbians make out for literally 2 hours straight, I sat up and I was like, oh, I'm bisexual. And it's been that way ever since. Yeah, real short. I had no big drawn out realizations about it where I had to come to terms with anything. I am extremely privileged in this regard. I am very, very, very lucky that the journey to my correct label and my feelings about my own queerness and all that jazz, very short trip. I figured it out. I had no shame about it. And that was it. Astonishingly lucky. It was like the one easy thing I had in my adolescence was figuring out I was queer. It was the one thing I didn't struggle with. No idea why. I grew up in Texas in a religious home. Explain it to me. I have no idea. Lucia? No, I think it is Lucia. This question from Lucia simply asks, any favorite queer books? And I've been specifically saving a couple of these just for this question. There is a YA book called A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, which is historical queerness. It's fun as hell. And it's gay as hell. It has a nice, romantic arc, like right with it's Victorian gaze, yes, but there's also adventure in there. It's way too much fun for words. Even if you don't read YA, and you should be reading YA, but even if you don't read YA, A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee is her name. Go look up that book. There's a sequel, actually, about the sister of the main character, and I believe she is good ace representation from what I hear. Highly, highly recommend. And then, of course, this is where we get to Daniela's mention. Because in terms of queer books, you cannot get any better than Captive Prince. It's a trilogy. You just can't. Funny thing, though, is that it does come with a small caveat in that it's kind of not for everyone in the sense that it's enemies to lovers, right? And who doesn't love enemies to lovers? But the thing is that they really, this author really committed to the enemies part. And so things happen in the first book that for some people will be an automatic no, or might be triggering in some way, or might be a little bit too dark for them. I know as much as I've talked about Captive Prince, it's not something that the wife is ever really likely to read, just because that's not her bag, that's not her thing. So at least for the first book, I would probably look up a couple of trigger warnings from it and maybe get some details like that. But if it's up your alley, that's the gold standard in terms of queer books. Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. I cannot possibly recommend it enough. Now, when you finish that first book, you are probably going to be like me and think, how on earth is this a love story? How could this possibly turn around to be a love story that's not like so many like what the heteros like to do with abusive romance? Like, how do you actually turn this into a genuine love story that isn't problematic as fuck? At the end of the first book, that is definitely your question. That was one of the reasons why I kept reading. Was I was like, how is she going to do this? She can't do this. There's no possible way she's going to pull this off. And then she did. She did. In an unabashedly tropey, plot-driven, romantic. It's just, okay, we're going to be here all day if I keep talking about Captive Prince. But Captive Prince, I'm telling you, even if you're thinking there's no way she could pull this out of the fire in the first book, just trust me. Just trust me. She does. I haven't quite figured out how the hell she did it, but she did. Captive Prince, for the love of God. For the love of God, Captive Prince. Oh, I like you, Priya. You're like dark fiction, trigger warning. Yes, I'm sold. Me too. Actually, if you really want a dark fiction, trigger warning, queer recommendation, I'll put it in a comment below when because this stream is going to get turned into a video the second we go off. I'll put that down in the comments, but there's one piece of queer media, it's a webcomic actually, that is the darkest, most fucked up thing I have ever read. It's something you read because it's fascinating, not necessarily because it's God, it's hard to describe. But basically it's like, you think Hannibal's fucked up, and Hannibal's fucked up. You think Hannibal's fucked up? Hannibal's number 2 in the most fucked up relationships, queer relationships I've ever read. No, just relationships I've ever read about. Hannibal comes in second. This one thing that I'll rec in a comment below, or maybe the description, is number 1. I'm wondering if anyone's named it. Yeah. Y'all got it. Y'all are my people. A couple of people have gotten it. But that's something that you don't recommend to many people, I feel, because it's particularly extreme. But it's fascinating. Anyway. R. Utami had a question, but that falls more into underrated territory that I already answered. Final Frontier asked, have you watched Star Trek shows besides original series? And if so, which do you prefer? Why not? Etc. Do you have an opinion on Discovery and their queer representation? I grew up on the Next Generation movies. My sister was really into the Next Generation series, which is how I kind of absorbed the movies by proxy. But I am woefully under something when it comes to Star Trek, because I've seen original series, kind of obviously. I grew up with the Next Generation movies. I have seen season 1 of Discovery, and aside from that, I feel like I'm missing one, but I haven't seen too much of Star Trek shows outside of the ones that I'm already like in love with and obsessed with. in terms of Discovery and its queer representation, I can only speak to season 1. But I thought what they had was really nice. They had a couple of husbands, and I thought that was really nice for season 1. And I really respected the show because not even somewhat, kind of spoiler territory for Discovery for a quick second. Towards the end of season 1, one of the husbands died in Discovery, and everybody got understandably upset because bury your gays, and also this is Star Trek, isn't it supposed to be better than this? And I respected Discovery for coming out and saying way ahead of time, they saw the response from the fandom and they made an announcement. They were like, they basically told everybody that the husband wasn't actually dead and that he's coming back, but that's something for like season 2, and that was like a spoiler. They essentially spoiled themselves. They spoiled their own show because they saw that people were having such a negative and personal reaction to it that they just went ahead and were like, no, it's not actually bury your gays. It's really not, we promise. And I thought that was pretty stand up of them to kind of spoil their own show because they saw that people were rightfully upset and that they wanted to assure people that it wasn't the case. I thought that was very cool of them. But the husbands in Discovery were great. They were great. They were wonderful. I still need to get into season 2 and season 3 or whatever the hell they're on. I still need to get caught up with it. But the show kind of broke my heart in season 1 because I thought they were doing something really amazing with Lorca, and then they fucking didn't. So I'm still kind of mad at it. But I plan on getting into it eventually. Especially, isn't there a spin-off series with Discovery's Pike and like Spock? And aren't they kind of going back into like, is there going to be a Kirk in that spinoff? I have not heard yet. But boy, the second that there is a new Kirk and Spock on the horizon, I am there. I am there. I just have no idea if that's actually going to be there. Because I feel like it's a somewhat recent announcement, so maybe that's why we don't really know. We are getting towards the end of the questions. From, I'm guessing this is either, I'm sure you get called Janet all the time. It may not be pronounced that way, but I've already embarrassed myself enough about name embarrassments in this stream that I'm just going to go ahead and say Janet. I hope that's right. But she asked, what's the next Chinese drama you're looking forward to watching? And who are some of your favorite Asian actors? The next Chinese drama specifically that I'm excited about is Guardian, of course. But favorite Asian actors, this is when I get to talk about my South Korean husband. His name is Yu Gong. And he did the he's doing series now, but he did that one zombie flick from like 2016. That's where I first saw him, and I am unbelievably in love with that man. Holy crap, can he act? And is he handsome as shit? There's actually, he was in a series that I watched just specifically for him that was called, what was it, Goblin, something like that. That was amazing. Absolutely amazing, especially on the hetero side of things. It was fantastic. It was like fantasy, but contemporary. But no, Yu Gong, man, I am in love. In love. Me and him, man. Anyway. More questions from Jamie. Is Jamie still here? Or did she have to sign off? Who knows? I can't really tell. But Jamie sent in a couple more questions, and then those will be the last of the batch before we just. Oh, is it Gong Yu or Yu Gong? I always forget because Americans flip it, and then South Korea obviously doesn't because it's the original, and then I just can't. Yeah. Um, and I've seen it both ways so many times that I actually cannot remember if it's Gong Yu or Yu Gong. I'm terrible to my husbands. Daniela mentioned Goblin. Yeah, Goblin. I love that show. It's fantastic. I believe actually that I was really shipping a couple of the supporting guys in Goblin. They had something really great and really gay going. Right? Yeah, I'm thinking of the right thing. So Jamie asked about canon divergences in the Untamed. If there was a point in the story so far that I would diverge from, what would it be and how would I do it? I can't answer the how question until I've done my really nerdy deep dive after I finish the series and kind of take it all apart and really form an opinion in that way. But I do know that I would definitely diverge from canon. I'm pretty sure I talked about it when it happened. Wang Ji basically had the option to go with Wuxian and all the rest of the Wen clan survivors, and it was that big monumental decision, and he didn't. He obviously let Wuxian go and do the thing, but he didn't go with him. And I'm like, I want to know what happens in the version where he goes with him. There's so much potential in that. I would love to see that. In fact, I'm pretty sure someone's already recommended a fic where that thing happens exactly. That I can't read yet, obviously, because of spoilers, but Jamie asks, before I got into the Untamed, did I have any preconceived notions about it? Or was it something that was just no thoughts, jump in gay and blind? I'm like, it was jump in gay and blind. I really didn't know if I was going to like it much or not. Because my experience with live action Asian dramas much more limited at the time than it was with anime, especially Chinese dramas. I'd seen mostly Japanese and South Korean of the few that I'd seen. And so, I was jumping gay and blind. I did not expect to be rewarded this handsomely. I really didn't. Jamie asks, what are some of your favorite dynamics between characters on The Untamed? Because we all kind of generally came for the gay, and then a lot of us got completely blindsided by some other great relationship or dynamic. And I tell you, I did not expect the Young Ming siblings to come for me this hard. Like, I didn't know what to expect from this show at all. And yet I was still surprised that, Chung, Yunli, and Wuxian, they are like the golden trio. They are the golden trio of this series for me so far. I just think they're brilliant, and I don't usually get into sibling relationships very much. They don't. No, they usually don't jump out at me. There's there's literally like Supernatural, okay, like Sam and Dean Winchester, like obviously, but I don't usually get into sibling relationships that much. And then these three just come at me out of nowhere, and they're so beautifully drawn individually and as a trio, and the dynamics within that trio. And then, of course, all the actors have to be fantastic. And really, it's just disgusting at this point. Like, honestly. And then, of course, not to give spoilers, but then all of that happens. And They have they've captured my soul. So yeah, it's definitely, I was not expecting Young Meng siblings to come for my life, and then they did. Just relentlessly and unabashedly and without shame. Jamie asked about when I first watched Star Trek, the original series, but I basically already answered that. To get literal with that answer, that's 2009. And then she also asked about favorite tropes. And I already said that was going to be a whole video in and of itself. But she mentioned something in here. Where is it? Right, she mentioned how a personal favorite trope of hers is when an enemies to lovers couple, before they get together, are put into a situation where they have to have a supercharged dance together. And like, I had never thought of this, but now I'm like, what are you reading or watching in which this happens? Because I would like a rec list, ma'am. That is a fantastic, very specific trope that I would like to know more about. I already love the dancing trope, right? I love it when a couple has to specifically ballroom dance together, whether it's enemies to lovers or whatever. Ballroom dances, shut up. I'm a hopeless romantic, guys. I don't know if you guessed that, but I am really hopeless romantic. So ballroom dancing alone. But then if you had a ballroom dancing scene with a whole enemies to lovers layers of I still hate you, but now we're having to, ooh, you are right up my alley, Jamie. Hit me with a rec list. As I choke on water. And that is actually, oh, we're coming in right under 2 hours answering all the questions. How randomly well timed. Those are all of the questions that I had sent in ahead of time. Is there anything that the chat has to ask? Let me just kind of hang out here for a few minutes. I haven't even checked about, oh no, cool. Somebody had a question. Let me see if I can find it. I can't remember who asked it. I just saw it, but the screen name ADD'd right out of my head. Somebody asked if I could predict an end to the Untamed. You think I could predict an ending to the Untamed? You think I would have any predict? I have no there's no telling. There's like no telling. I mean, I know that it's a happy ending. Ultimately, I have gotten the impression that, neither of the main two guys are going to die again permanently. You know what I mean? But like, other than that, how could you possibly predict an ending to this show? I would like to know how, after seeing up until, episode 38, how I couldn't even begin to formulate an inkling of a possibility as to how this show is going to end. I don't even have the framework of a flashback anymore. I'm like flying blind head first into this series, which is terrifying considering I know what it can do now. So not a single clue, not a single one. Nope. I have absolutely no idea. And I tell you, that's pretty impressive for me. I mean, usually you can glean some kind of track that, where they're going as to where it's going to end up. And like, structurally speaking, you're like, well, okay, then by the end, this. Not with the Untamed, though. Absolutely not. You are at its mercy, but not in a way that is badly written at all, which is just spellbinding to me. I am going to be studying this series in terms of, well, everything really, from structure to characterization to plot to world building to gayness to relationships dynamics This show should be studied. Story, series, what have you. Fucking studied. Um, I'm assuming you're new into the chat because we've been going for a second. You asked if I'm going to read the novel after I'm done with the series. I plan to, yeah, if I can find a really good translation. There are so many revelations at the end that leave you blindsided. I believe you. I fully believe you. There's like 5 or 6 arcs left. You have got to be exaggerating. Maven, I'm looking at you. There's only like 11 episodes. But, you know, I wouldn't put it past. The Night Runner series, that's an old school series. I have those books on my computer. That's, if it's not Mercedes Lackey, then it's the other chick. That's an old school book series. I wasn't thinking anybody would have ever heard of that. Well done. Misha, you have to watch The Untamed at least twice in order to grasp everything. At least. I would probably more put it on like 3 times. Although really you could infinitely watch this series, obviously, but like I feel like I'm gonna have to make individual passes for all the things that I just mentioned. Like, okay, I'm gonna watch it focusing on plot, and now it's gonna be about character, and then it's gonna be about, you know what I mean? Lynn Fluelling, thank you. Night Runner series. Yeah. Mercedes Lackey had at least one book that she published that was queer fantasy, I think in the 90s or early 2000s. I have that on my computer as well. Because I'm currently trying to find all the queer fantasy I can get my hands on, considering I'm about to read it, considering I'm about to write it. I was actually going to turn that into a video as well once I get done reading the queer, specifically historical or medieval fantasy books. I was going to make a video out of that with reviews and recommendations. Yeah, Fina, go back and rewatch the first 2 episodes after you finished. I was actually considering, making that a whole ass, like last reaction, after I finished. So it's like watch episode 50, and then the next video is rewatching episodes 1 and 2 again and screaming at the heavens because I'm sure the show telegraphed so much more than I caught on to. Yeah, so yeah, I was planning on doing that actually. Roswell, New Mexico, Maven. I do plan on getting caught up on that show, and then from there, I'll be doing, assuming I, like the show and everything, I will be doing reactions to that once I'm caught up. So like as it airs, kind of thing. There are a couple of shows that I'm doing that with, like Roswell, New Mexico, Winona Earp. I'm like 4 seasons behind on that, but once I get caught up, I will be reacting to new episodes whenever they decide to happen for Winona Earp. Somebody mentioned. She-Ra. I actually watched She-Ra on my honeymoon with the wife because I'd been promising her that I would watch it with her for the longest time. And so for the honeymoon, we did. And I love it. And that's amazing. And there's actually a whole ass video where I could talk about series I slept on. Because boy, I slept on She-Ra. But I have seen it now. I have seen the light. She-Ra was amazing. She-Ra was just awesome. I have seen a lot of Thai BL dramas now. Now that you guys wrecked me 1.5 million things and I've watched most of them, I have seen a good few of Thai BL dramas now. I would have to look at my specific list to be able to remember how I felt about them because there were a lot. Oh, the juniors in the Untamed, the teens, the kids, the ducklings. I've heard them called a whole bunch of different things. Other than the one that who I've kind of immediately singled out. His name has a Z in it. I can spell his name. I can't pronounce it yet. I haven't heard it enough. I singled him out as like my favorite. He is my favorite student, really. He's very close to becoming one of my sons. Aside from him, I haven't really gotten a good grasp on everybody else yet. So we will have to see. Oh yeah, my cat's been screaming. He wants to get let out. Yeah, no, let him out. He's fine. He's ridiculous. My poor cat. You wish you'd see it. I had to look over for my cat. Priya, you wish you'd seen my reaction to what? My cat is now let loose in the wild, as you can hear. So he may make it on camera at some point here at the very end before we call it a night. Yeah. Oh, thank you for reminding me, Saka. Yeah, you. But the Untamed toning down the original plot a little bit though, but obviously it's still amazing and tries to go against censorship as much as they can. I can't believe I forgot about this. That was one of the big driving things that made me decide to watch The Untamed, because as someone who comes from the original series, where you kind of had this whole theory about Kirk and Spock in the original series and how intentional was it? Is it just canon or is it all headcanons and all that stuff? You had a lot of stuff about censorship in the 1960s for TV that you had to factor in as well. And so I was really interested to see a show where you knew for a fact that the creators and everyone involved in the show were trying their best to fight against anti-gay censorship. That was indeed a big factor in me deciding to watch The Untamed. Eddie is the mug. Eddie is the mug, not the tea. That's a good question, though. I do kind of refer to it as, I see where that question comes from. The novel holds so much more. That's just kind of a privilege. That's a book privilege. You have so much more time to get into things with books than you do movies. Dresden's a good name for the cat. Thank you. That's an Amanda Palmer reference. She was part of a duo. It's called the Dresden Dolls, and that was how I first came to know about Amanda Palmer. And I love her so much that I essentially named a cat after her. What do I write on the board? I have so many pens. Well, I have a lot of pens because I'm an elitist, and the second a pen starts to go dull, I like move on to a new one because I'm a writer. So this is actually, there's no way in hell you're going to be able to read any of this. So I can tell you, currently on the whiteboard right now is Act 2 and Act 3 of the book I'm writing that I told you guys about. And I've got some notes about videos on writing that I could potentially make if I ever decided to start writing YouTube. And then I have a bunch of random shit over here because it's in easy reach. And so anything I think of, I can just write down. But yeah, it changes fairly often. And even if you could see it perfectly, you still wouldn't be able to read because my handwriting is shit. So I feel totally safe in telling you this, and you won't be able to figure out anything that's on there anyway. Dresden is a city in Germany. That's actually where the band got their name. The Dresden Dolls was a reference to, I believe, World War II Germany. And I think it was a picture that Amanda saw once. Basically broken dolls for little girls, broken dolls in Dresden. Can you send me fan mail? You mean like literally in a PO box? That's actually a good question. I got a question about PO boxes once a few months ago, and I looked into it, and of course that's something that you have to pay money for. But with patrons, and now that I have patrons, I would be able to pay for that if, fan mail is something that you guys would want to send me. So basically, if I start getting hounded about having a PO box, I will be more than happy to start one up. You're like the second person who's asked me. I haven't gotten very many asks yet about that specifically. Rosaline, that could go a couple of different ways. You say you write too, and you have so many ideas. How do you narrow stuff down? How, I guess it kind of depends on how long you've been writing, because basically the more ideas you have, the more good ideas you have. And I, because I am somewhat ambitious with my aspirations for writing, I narrow it down by just asking myself which one has the most potential to be sold and for people to read. Like, which one do I believe has the best concept or hook or story, something that'll get people to read it? Which do I think is, in that sense, the best idea? And then, of course, you balance that with, and which one do I want to write the most? Because you don't just dive into things on ambition alone. We're not ridiculous. But yeah, the more ideas you have, the better ideas you have. And both figuring out which one you wholeheartedly believe is the best, and then also kicking yourself in the ass and sitting down and deciding to commit to something. Because writers write. And at some point, you're going to have to sit your ass down and choose one thing. I know this feel. I have so many ideas in Word documents. I know this feel very deeply. And I wish there was some kind of other magical answer other than ultimately at some point you just have to make a decision. When I ever do a makeup tutorial, when I ever do a makeup tutorial, um, Eternal Rhapsody, would I ever do a makeup tutorial? Here's my secret, and I don't know if this is going to change with the new fancy camera that I have now, so it's not going to be potato anymore, but the camera and the lights go a far way in making my makeup look better than it is. Like the my eyeliner uh is not as straight, is not as, wonderful as it looks. I think especially if you full screen it, I think you can tell through all the pixels because I'm using a webcam for everything. But I am not the person you go to for makeup tutorials. I can recommend a girl, Rach Loves. I think there's an extra H in there. She has been my favorite makeup chick since forever. She has very informative videos. She's fantastic. Go watch her. But me, who know? I am currently going through a journey to try and figure out which fucking nude lipstick goes best with pale ass skin, and I still haven't figured that out yet. Am I willing to upgrade to hard liquor for the Untamed? Because I'm gonna need it in the next few episodes and basically for the end of the series. I'm gonna stick with wine. Wine and the Untamed seem to go really well together. But I tell you what, I think for Euphoria, when season 2 of Euphoria comes around, I'm gonna make some screwdrivers. I'm busting out the vodka for Euphoria because I am going to absolutely need it. Holy shit. Um, so we should start or end everything with when are you getting a PO box? I mean, yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That's how I oh, I had my hand covering it for a second. Yeah, the more you guys hound me about something is the more how I know what you guys want. My cat's making noise. Thank you, sir. I've gotten Dynasty. God, cat, make more noise. I've gotten a Dynasty. I've got plenty of Chinese BL recommendations. Well, okay, like BL recommendations specifically, but basically, let me get out the the general rec and review for all of the queer Asian dramas that I have watched up to this point. Let me get that video out, which, by the way, comes out in hopefully just a couple of weeks. Definitely by the end of the month. But that video will be out very, very soon. Let me get that out, and then see if I've seen any of the ones that you've wrecked. It won't be until after that video where I ask for more recs. I'm always up for more recs. You can send it to me on Tumblr, and like I can add them to the lists, yeah. But in terms of stuff I can immediately get to, it's like it's a whole thing. If I could wear any of the outfits from the Untamed, give me all of Yan Li's wardrobe, please. Yes. Yan Li and Ching's wardrobe. Yeah, but mostly Yan Li's. Even though I look better in darker colors, but still. Oh my god. They really showed off with with some of Yan Li's robes. Ooh, favorite Yanli outfits. I would have to, go back and find them. But I know that there are a couple that were really recent that I lost my shit over. Uh, that were in recent reactions. And I know if I lost my shit on camera. So you could probably I bet they're in the reactions for the last, well, where that would stop. But yeah, I think at least two of them are really recent. Just in general. I mean, they didn't know how to dress Yanli badly. Her wedding outfit, yes. Her wedding outfit was stunning. Chung has another good wardrobe, Jamie. Yeah. Favorite villain so far? So because, I film a week ahead of what you guys see, and I film on the days that you guys get reactions. So basically, tomorrow when the reaction for episode 37 is posted, at the time you get that, I will be watching episode 39, which means on Monday I was watching episode 38. And so up until that episode, in terms of favorite villain, I obviously, I would have said hot guy. But yeah, now we're having real mixed feelings about hot guy in this bar tonight. Ooh. Cause like I think he was pretty much the only one left who was like an enjoyable type of villain. Like the other villains you just want to see fucking die. Like you just want them dead as soon as possible. They're horrible. Get them off my screen. But hot guy, Shu Young, for anybody who doesn't know my nickname for him, hot guy was, the fun one who, yeah. And yeah, you'll get to see more about that when I react to episode 38. If you're a patron, you get to see it on Saturday. If you're a regular subscriber, you get to see that on Monday, next Monday. That's a whole thing. Chaotic evil, yeah, I love a good chaotic evil. They're so fun. They're just so fun. You love to hate the chaotic evil guys most of the time. I had heard that we get apparently some of his backstory, which I would really appreciate, because at this point, especially at this point, but like at this deep into the series, I'm like, why do you do the things that you do? What is motivating you? It's one of the, hot guy's motivations has been kept pretty well under lock and key, unless there's been stuff I've missed, which is always a possibility. But I'd be real interested to get some more insight into his behavior, because as batshit as he is, I don't think they're about to try to pass off as that, well, he just acts this way because he's crazy, and he's crazy because he's crazy, and that's it. In other shows, maybe, but not with the Untamed. With the Untamed, that there's something else, that there's something going on from a character perspective. Daniela, I'm guessing the one you want to see suffer most is Jin. I'm pretty sure that's the Jin clan leader. I'm pretty sure that's the Jin clan leader. In which case, yes, he's driving me fucking nuts. I think maybe there was something about he might already be dead already, like he died off screen. which the only problem I have with that is that I didn't get to see him die right in front of my eyes. But that was, wow, that was sadistic. Big Mama G. Oh, hi. I can't believe we've run long enough to the so that you're actually here. She and I are we go way back as well. Big Mama G. We go way back. Hey girl, hey. She was one of the people. Didn't I ask you if I should watch The Untamed? I know you were instrumental in Untamed. Actually, she was the one. Everybody thanked Big Mama G because she was the one who was able to get me downloadable episodes, high quality episodes. When I had that streaming issue and I found out that my computer wasn't good enough to stream and record at the same time, and I had to find downloadable episodes. Everybody thanked Big Mama because that was her. I haven't seen a spoiler yet, but yeah, if you guys are throwing spoilers for anything after episode 38, it would be awesome if we could avoid those. Because it affects, and I know, I don't know, it might seem that I like overcompensates, not the right word, but that I'm like overly protective of spoilers. But like the thing is that one, I mean, I am just generally overprotective of spoilers for my own personal viewing experience. Absolutely, the less I know, the better. But also in this instance, where the whole point is that I'm reacting to things, what I know in advance obviously affects how I'm going to. If I know it's coming, it's not going to be even remotely the same. So it's both for me and just the purpose of the channel. And I feel like I have to explain that every time I have to mention the no spoilers, no really thing. It's not just because I'm trying to be difficult. It's because it protects the fun that we're having. Which clan would I belong to? I have no idea. Which clan would I belong to? Land Clan has too many rules that I would not follow. No. Where would I? Because see, I also have at this point. I'm not even done with my first watch, so I only know so much about the individual clans to begin with. So it's hard to say which one I would be in. I just know that it wouldn't be Land Clan, and probably not the Jin Clan either, considering. Right, I was kind of thinking I'd be over in the group. Oh yeah, I'd be over with Chung and Wushan and Yan Li, because not only for actual reasons, but also because they have one of the most glorious and beautiful locations in the entire show that I absolutely wouldn't mind living in that neck of the woods. I think that's right, though. I think I would be over there with that clan. Aesthetically pleasing clan? Most aesthetically pleasing clan? Like in terms of robes or location? Because those are two different things with this show, where everything's gorgeous and so you have to be specific. Oh, the Unclean Realm is beautiful. But in terms of locations, Jang Clan and Lotus Pier and wherever the hell the Jin Clan is, they're tied for me, which makes me angry because the Jin Clan, or at least their leaders, do not deserve a place that fucking beautiful. Robes, though. All of a sudden, I'm like drawing a blank. Can I just have Wushan's robes? Honestly? I mean, very goth by disaster vibes. And if I was anything in high school, it was a goth by disaster. So I feel like I should just steal Wushan's robes. Can I have Apple? Can I have Apple? Jessica. No, Apple's mine. Apple's mine. I get the donkey, damn it. It's a weird sentence. So we are coming up. This is definitely a party that lasted longer than I thought it was. We're coming up on 2.5 hours, and we've had plenty of time to chill after getting through all the questions, which was really nice. I was hoping that we would have that time. But it's 2.5 hours. The wife has to go to sleep at some point tonight. She gets up early in the morning. And I also have to get to the gym and like other things. But this was wonderful, y'all. This was so much fun. I was not going to lie. I was nervous about hosting my first live stream. But this went extremely well. You guys ask fantastic questions. And this went about as well as I possibly could have hoped. This was so much fun. I think in the future, regular public live streams like this will kind of be more on a pop-up basis. Like next thing you know, all of a sudden I'm going live and I'm going to hang out with whoever happens to be online at the time. Kind of deal. And then patron and Patreon live streams will be more of the planned in advance type thing. But there will definitely be more live streams because this is a great party and I'm definitely going to throw parties like this once again. But it's getting late for, I think, everybody involved. And it's probably time that we actually log off. And thank you for being here. I love all of the thanks. You guys are so nice. I'm sorry, you guys are the nicest. A quick cat cameo. I don't know. Is he within reach? Cat. He's not in here at the moment. If he was within reach and I could lure him over, then I would. But I don't think he's here. Ooh, pardon me. I don't think he's here, but that is definitely something that will happen on like the next stream. I will figure out a way to get cats on the stream next time. So thank you guys so much for showing up, for chatting, for asking great questions. I will see you the next time I have a live stream, whether that's randomly or pre-planned. And just take care of yourselves. Seriously, honestly, that is so important. I say that at the end of every video for a reason, because I really, really want you to. So please take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And I will see you whenever the hell it happens next time.